Yo, what's up guys? Welcome back to another video, and this is a bit different. This is a reaction on 10 athletes who got caught cheating live on TV. I'm not really too sure what to expect. I mean, I assume it, or I know it's going to be cheating, obviously, but I've not heard any stories. The one story that I've heard is, I think it was the New England Patriots of Tom Brady about flattening the footballs, but I'm not 100% sure. I don't know if that was on live TV. I'm not really too sure. Actually, I think I know one. It was to do with baseball. I think it was to do with running, something, putting something sticky on their hands. I might have saw that on Twitter sometime. I think I have seen. That's one that I know of. But other than that, I genuinely know nothing. So I'm really intrigued to see what will pop up. But yeah, if you guys enjoy these kind of videos, please subscribe. That is incredible. And yeah, the support lately has been out of this world. To be honest, I say lately, the last 3 months, the support has just been incredible. Yeah, man, my links are in the description if you want to follow me on Twitter and suggest me videos. I'll more likely to see suggestions on Twitter. But yeah, let's get into it. Let's see the cheat of sports in general.
Despite what some fans may think, cheating in sports isn't limited to the teams or athletes they hate. Many look for any advantage they can get, and if that means bending or breaking the rules, so be it.
Man.
But plenty get caught while doing so, and sometimes their cheating ways get exposed on live TV in front of everyone.
I think that's what I was on about.
Varied, except for the court of public opinion deciding in each case that the athlete looked completely foolish trying to sneak around the rulebook. Here are 10 athletes across the sports spectrum who tried to cheat.
Oh, that one, of course I forgot about that. Against England as well.
The sport of cricket doesn't often deal with crazy scandals, until March 2018 anyway. That was when several members of the men's Australian cricket team got caught cheating and sent the entire squad's reputation through the shredder. During a match against South Africa, television cameras caught Aussie bowler Cameron Bancroft appearing to rub the ball with some strange substance, which turned out to be sandpaper. Umpires were notified and confronted him, but they didn't penalize him since he hadn't gotten around to messing with the ball in any influential way. But he tried to, and he wasn't alone. It soon came out that team captains Steve Smith and David Warner ordered Bancroft to rub the ball with sandpaper, thereby making it easier to swing the ball. This is essentially cricket speak for a curveball.
Wow.
After a brief investigation,
even for cricket, I thought cricket was the most sort of I mean, I don't watch it, but it's one of those sports you think, oh, there's no cheating in this. It's just a gentleman's sport.
Not to mention an irate phone call from the Aussie Prime Minister, Cricket Australia doled out their punishments. Since they were the brains behind the operation, Smith and Warner received 1-year bans from professional cricket and lost 100% of their pay for the game in question. Bancroft didn't get
internationally as well,
receiving a 9-month suspension and losing 75% of his game money. He only
returned
never heard
of it
cricket
before.
in December 2018. Then there's the coach, Darren Lemon, who was found to have taken no part in the scandal and received no punishment, except from himself. He resigned as coach, declaring that Aussie cricket needed to move forward. It's hard to do that when a coach who lost control to such a degree sticks around, even after the cheaters sat on the sidelines.
This looks like baseball.
As much as baseball fans loved the late 90s home run race between Mark McGwire and Sammy Sosa, both players have essentially been blackballed from the sport for using performance-enhancing drugs to boost their power.
You guys were telling me about this, actually. You basketball... Oh, I'm so dumb. You baseball... That's going to annoy people. You baseball fans told me about a video that I reacted to about how far they were hitting it, and a lot of them were people on these kinds of drugs. So that's something that you guys told me, actually, but I didn't know it would be on...
I'm not talking about that, since Sosa certainly wasn't dumb enough to do steroids on camera. However, in June 2003, he was caught red-handed with a cheat that only added to his rapidly crumbling reputation. After hitting a ball hard enough to break his bat, cork popping out of the bat. Corked bats are notorious for making it easier to hit for power and are completely against the rules. Sosa was immediately ejected, becoming only the 6th player since 1970 to get caught using a corked bat. He later earned an 8-game suspension for his offense, tied for the longest court-related punishment in history. Sosa later appealed the suspension down to 7 games, as officials accepted his claim that he mistakenly used a practice bat he had corked to look cool for the crowd during pregame warm-ups. His seeming sincerity, coupled with the tests of 76 of Sosa's bats finding 0 cork among them, convinced the powers that be that Sosa didn't mean to cheat. But who knows if that's true? It's all but accepted he cheated to hit all those.
That's so weird. I've never seen a bat break mid-hit. Is that how many times has that happened in recent times? Was that a thing that's now not happened because they check up on it, etc.? Because that's crazy. I've never seen something like that happen before.
Hard not to suspect he's been corking throughout his career. We may never know for sure, though considering Sosa still isn't in the Hall of Fame and likely never will.
That's the craziest thing I've seen.
Has clearly found him guilty on all accounts.
Who's this then?
In recent years, cheating in football has largely been centered around the usage of PEDs, deflated footballs, and spying on teams during practice. But in 2010, a coach for the New York Jets embraced another fun way to cheat at pigskin, tripping opponents like a schoolyard bully.
I think I've seen this one on a highlight clip,
Jets
actually.
strength and conditioning coach Sal Alosi decided to give his team an advantage by injuring the closest
That's
Dolphin.
so mad.
So he stuck his knee out onto the field, tripping Dolphins quarterback Norman
How do you
Carroll
think
and
you're going to
sending
get
him
away
tumbling
with
to the
that?
turf. He wasn't hurt much and actually returned to the game later on, but it wound up being a terrible look for Alosi and the Jets. Even the CBS commentators remarked that this is just uncalled for in the NFL, and that whoever tripped Carroll should be ashamed of themselves. They were, as Alosi quickly admitted it was him, and that he tripped Carroll on purpose.
So they could, so it was really like fine details, so they could...
Claimed it was a total lapse in judgment and that he was willing to accept whatever punishment the team deemed necessary. It wound up being a doozy of a punishment. Alosi found himself suspended for the rest of the season, including the playoffs, where the Jets made it to the AFC Championship. He was also fined $25,000. Resigned from the Jets in January 2011 and hasn't worked in the NFL since. The Jets lost that game, appropriately enough.
But that changed everything. So this is soccer,
Soccer
I'm
is
not
as
sure
much
what it
theater
is.
as it is a sport, judging by how many players attempt to gain an advantage through flopping or acting like contact hurt way more than it actually did.
Yeah,
if
that happens a
successful, the
lot.
other team gets penalized and the suddenly healthy player gets up
I've
and
never
keeps on
seen that
playing.
clip before. Oh, that makes our sport look so
Successful
bad.
flop should be somewhat based
Ow.
in reality.
That one
Something
looks
Brazil's Rivaldo Ferreira didn't even attempt in June 2002. In a game against Turkey, Turkish player Hakan Ünsal kicked the ball toward Ferreira. The ball only hit his shin, but Ferreira decided to act otherwise. He collapsed to the ground screaming and holding his face. The officials, seeing Ferreira in such supposed pain, ejected Ünsal from the game and slapped Turkey with a penalty. Such antics may well have helped the Brazilians win the match 2-1. But Ferreira apparently forgot instant replay and giant screens exist, because shortly after the penalty, the stadium screen replayed the incident, clearly showing the ball didn't come remotely close to Ferreira's face.
That is so
He didn't deny
bad.
anything and thus admitted to the cheat, though he peppered his admission with a healthy dash of remorseless victim blaming. As he explained, the ball touched my leg, but the other player was still wrong to kick the ball at me. I said sorry to him, but that's football. It may not have hit my face, but the Turkish player should not have done that in the first place. FIFA wasted little time in punishing Ferreira, though they didn't go very far. They merely fined him 11,500 Swiss francs, which is roughly the same amount in US dollars. If you're wondering why flopping keeps happening in soccer, wrist slap punishments like that might well be why.
That's one good thing that's now happened, because VAR is, I think it originated in the US, like US sports, and it's now finally come over to soccer. Not all leagues, but some leagues have it, and it's supposedly to stop things like diving, because now they can obviously review it, and if the players dive like that, which some of that stuff is shocking, they'll be sent off, they'll get a fine. So hopefully that does help with it, because it's a new thing to soccer. This is the worst thing.
Even if you're a casual soccer fan, you've likely heard about the hand of God. But here's the entire story behind one of the most famous goals and one of the most famous cheats of all time.
It's my
and
country
England
as well.
met in the quarterfinals of the 1986 World Cup. After 51 scoreless minutes, Argentina's Diego Maradona kicked the ball toward England's goal, where goalkeeper Peter Shilton was waiting to knock the ball away. He, as a goalkeeper, could use his hands to do that.
That is
Maradona,
mental.
as a striker, could not, but he did so anyway.
But what I don't understand, even though that's cheating, yeah, the keeper's like 6'6". Maradona's like 5'5". He shouldn't be getting that
Went to
anyway.
punch the ball away from the goal, Maradona leapt into the air and punched it back in. The
So even though it's
referee somehow
illegal-
didn't see the cheat and allowed the goal to stand.
It is
starting
awful. The keeper
Argentina
should have got that
on a
anyway.
2-1 win
That's
in
still
an eventual
mental.
World Cup championship victory over Mexico. Post-match,
Yeah.
Maradona was asked about the goal, since replays
about
clearly
that.
showed he used his hands. He claimed the goal happened thanks to a little with the head of Maradona and a little with the hand of God.
Cheating little scum. To be fair, I guess that's at the elite level of sports. You're going to do those things to try and get the victories. As wrong as it is, for any
Giving rise to the term hand of God.
Any leagues, you're
Years
gonna do
later,
it.
In 2005, Maradona admitted he did it on purpose and knew immediately he had cheated. In fact, he told USA Today he needed his team to help him distract the referee afterward, explaining, "I was waiting for my teammates to embrace me and no one came. I told them, come hug me or the referee isn't going to allow it." Maradona was swiftly punished for both cheating and manipulating the official by getting away with absolutely everything.
such a shocking thing.
It's never smart to cheat during a marathon or triathlon. There are cameras and data everywhere, and even without that, all officials need to do is look at someone's time to see if their accomplishment seems on the up and up. In the case of Julie Miller, she wasn't even close. Miller came out of seemingly nowhere to win Ironman Canada in July 2015. This made no sense to the other runners, particularly super athlete Suzanne Davis, who was favored to win and had eyewitnesses aplenty insisting she had. No one, meanwhile, had seen Miller in the lead ever, except suddenly she was first past the marathon finish line. Something seemed fishy, especially since Miller didn't stick around to shake hands or anything. It was almost like she wanted to disappear as quickly as she appeared. Davis and her fellow runners conducted an investigation, studying photographs, videos, and official time data, along with interviewing eyewitnesses to the race. Their conclusion, one eventually shared by the Ironman board, was that few saw Miller race because she basically didn't. She simply darted in and out of the course, cutting out large swaths of her path and keeping her fresh as could be while approaching the finish line. For this, Ironman Canada disqualified Miller from the race, along with 2 others she supposedly won before.
Was she a professional runner then, or was she just like a...
Which she clearly had been the entire time. Miller still insists she won the race fairly, but at this point, with all the proof exposing her as a cheater, her arguments are about as legitimate as a child insisting they're not stealing cookies while their hand is in the jar.
This is boxing now. I'm not even
The
heard of
story
this
of
one.
ex-boxer Louis Resto isn't so much a tale of cheating as it is one of near murderous assault. In 1983, Resto fought the undefeated Billy Collins and unexpectedly beat him senseless. After 10 rounds, Collins' face was beyond swollen and his eyes were all but shut.
Jesus! Yo, what the hell? Yo, he's had an allergic reaction to something. I know he's been beaten up, but what the hell? Bro, he has seen some...
was beyond swollen and his eyes were all but shut. His father and trainer Billy Sr. cried foul after shaking Resto's hands and realizing the gloves felt thin. Sure enough, it turned out Resto's trainer Panama Lewis had removed padding from the gloves, making Resto's punches stronger than they had any right to be. The New York State Boxing Commission concluded Resto knew the gloves were tampered with and suspended him for a year. Worse for Resto, he and Lewis actually went on trial for felonious assault, since getting punched out with illegal gloves was not what Collins signed up for. Found guilty, Resto served 2.5 years in prison.
Wow.
20 years later in 2007, Resto finally admitted he knew the gloves were tainted. Worse, he confessed to other cheats, like having his hand wraps soaked in plaster, basically turning his hands into rocks. He also admitted Lewis would give him water spiked with asthma medicine. This illegally increased his lung power, which came in handy late in fights while clean boxers struggled to catch their breath. In short, virtually everything about Resto and his career was phony. One thing that was very real and very tragic is Collins' fate. Due to eyesight damage suffered in the Resto fight, Collins had to retire. Months later, he drove drunk and crashed his car, an accident that killed him. His father maintains that Collins might have intentionally driven drunk and essentially killed himself, feeling his career and life were over because of what Resto did to him.
That sucks. Something from that to lead to that, I mean, that's the worst. Because, I mean, imagine your career being finished for something that's illegal and something that just shouldn't be happening in your sport. Geez, that must be awful. And then it obviously leads to the worst possible thing, which is him passing away. That's...
The era of the spitball, where a pitcher would literally spit on a ball to make it curve and difficult to hit, is
what the hell? Look at the power on that! Wait, what the hell? I've never seen a throw like that.
Spit on a ball to make it curve and difficult to
Jesus hit Christ!
Dead. But that hasn't stopped pitchers from...
Okay, I'm gonna have to watch a bowling video.
Curve in different ways. The problem is, unless their method is getting better at throwing a curveball, chances are they're doing something illegal. That's what happened to Michael Pineda in 2014.
I'm not even listening. I've got to listen to what he's saying. Sorry, I've not even listened to what he's saying.
The era of the spitball, where a pitcher would literally spit on a ball
that's
to
disgusting.
make it curve and difficult to hit, is long dead. But that hasn't stopped pitchers from making the ball curve in different ways. The problem is, unless their method is getting better at throwing a curveball, chances are they're doing something illegal. That's what happened to Michael Pineda in 2014. The Yankees pitcher decided the best way to handle the Red Sox was to smear pine tar on his hands and neck. He did it twice in 2 weeks, and the first time it resulted in a 4-1 Yankees win. But to viewers, it quickly became evident that he had substance on his hands. By the fifth inning, social media had talked so much about it that even the commentators brought it up. However, by the time Sox management inquired about it, Pineda had wiped his hands clean, and so no punishment could be doled out. When asked about it afterward, he dismissed charges of pine tar cheating with, "It's just dirt, nothing to see here." A couple weeks later, also against the Sox, Pineda used his so-called dirt again.
Why would you do that? That's so dumb. You do it once, and people are suspicious about it. You're not going to get away with it again.
This time, the umpires knew to look for it. They caught him using it in just the second inning and threw him out of the game. He later received a lengthy 10-game suspension for his troubles. Amazingly, Pineda's real sin, as far as his fellow baseball players were concerned, wasn't that he cheated, but that he did it so flagrantly. Several players defended Pineda, saying up to 90% of pitchers use pine tar, rosin, sunscreen, and whatever else they can find to help grip the ball better on chilly days. They don't consider it cheating, but they did consider Pineda's flaunting of the stuff to be fairly stupid.
But what is it? Is it because it changes the ball movement, or is it just easier to make? Does it make it easier to do certain things? Because I'm guessing it's sticky, so it must make it easier to catch. and have like a grip on things.
When athletes get caught cheating, there's several routes they can take. They can admit to it and apologize, they can deny it, or they can even ignore it. The NBA's Dwight Howard took a novel approach to being exposed as a cheater. He admitted to doing it all the time, insisted it was no big deal, and acted like being called a cheater was just ridiculous. In March 2016, Howard's Houston Rockets were playing the Atlanta Hawks. Shortly after Howard made a layup, the Hawks' Paul Millsap went for a couple free throws. But while doing so, he noticed the ball felt stickier than he'd ever felt it before. He handed it to the referee, who brought it over to the scorer's table. There, he discovered a tape-covered can of what turned out to be stickum, an adhesive that many athletes used in the 1970s to help grip the ball easier. However, it's been banned for a long time now, meaning Dwight Howard was using an illegal substance to cheat, somehow. Nobody really knows how a sticky basketball makes it easier to win, since Howard still had to handle the ball himself. Whatever his reason, Howard clearly felt this was no big deal. As he told the Houston Chronicle, "I've been using it for the last 5 years. It hasn't been a problem. I don't know why people are making a big deal out of it. I do it every game."
What could it even do? Because if it's sticky, surely it'd make it harder to shoot because it's going to stick to your hands more. But I guess it makes it easier to... No, actually, saying that, maybe it does make it easier to like dribble with the ball.
It's not a big deal. Yes, Dwight Howard defended himself against charges of cheating by admitting he cheated, admitting he had done so for years, and challenging anyone to care about it.
Yeah, that's pretty mental.
Apparently did not, electing not to punish Howard in the least. Maybe they were so taken aback by his brazenness, they decided to just give him this one.
I rate that, to be fair. So this is cycling.
Thanks to Lance Armstrong, the sport of bike racing has a reputation for being filled with cheaters. Bicycling is so grueling, it's extremely difficult to succeed at it without routine rule breaking. But it's not all doping like Armstrong. Sometimes, like with Vincenzo Nibali, it's as simple a matter as grabbing hold of a vehicle and letting it move you instead of doing the work yourself. In summer 2015, Nibali, a former Tour de France champion, competed in the Vuelta a España, a Spanish bike race. At one point, he found himself involved in a crash, and as a result, he was far behind the rest of the pack. Rather than simply bike harder, he and his team employed a technique known as the sticky bottle. Basically, a rider will gain a brief advantage by having his team drive up to him to give him a bottle of water. In the few seconds both the driver and cyclist are holding the bottle, the car drifts the cyclist along without having to do anything. That's more or less allowed, if not really endorsed by the rules. However, Nibali's version of the sticky bottle was so blatant, officials simply couldn't look the other way. He grabbed hold of the car itself, which then zoomed him all the way up to the other cyclist.
That is shocking.
This extended free ride was simply too much, too unacceptable to Vuelta officials, who promptly disqualified Nibali and sent him packing. To make things more embarrassing for Nibali, he didn't
such a shithouse thing to do.
After rejoining the pack, he lost contact yet again, and ultimately finished 31st out of the roughly 160 cyclists.
Wow.
Getting punished for a cheat that didn't really help you much is a good definition of a bad day.
That was cool. That was a different video. I was expecting more American sports because I've heard obviously about the ball flattening conspiracy thing from the New England Patriots, and I thought there'd be more. But to be fair, it was just all sports in general. That was a pretty cool video. I enjoyed it. It just sort of showed me a lot of different things about different sports and how there's different ways to cheat in each individual one. Yeah, that was cool. I hope you guys enjoyed. Any other videos like this you want me to watch, just comment down below. And yeah, until next time, I'll see you guys later. Peace.